I'm a lifelong Southerner married to an Indian man who grew up in South Africa during apartheid, and I am fiercely proud of both. If you don't like that, well, bless your heart. I'm Cheryl Parbu, and this is Southern Life, Indian Wife. Y'all, I'm kind of obsessed with the concept of arranged marriage in Indian culture. It is a total enigma to me. My husband probably would have had one if I hadn't bewitched him away when we met, which is what he says. Today, I get to talk with a man about what it was like being an Indian kid growing up in the South and dating and wading through his Indian arranged marriage culture, scoring the true love of his life, and finally becoming the man and the person that he's supposed to be. Salil Maniktala, and I go way back, all the way back to high school in Memphis, Tennessee. He's an Indian American from Delhi and married dad of twins who lives in the DC area now. He's not like any Indian guy, really any guy I've ever met. He's super intelligent, intimidatingly so, I have to admit. He's insightful and he's totally honest. If the F word bothers you, you're going to have to plug your ears quite a few times during this episode, but you're going to want to hear him. And so here he is, Salil Maniktala.
I'm super excited to be here. This is a lot of fun.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about with you, because we have kind of similar things that have happened in our lives, is Indian culture and marriage. And that's just such a broad, loaded topic. But one of the reasons that I've been thinking about it so much is because, first of all, Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas are in my Instagram feed constantly. It's like a royal wedding, but, you know, with this young white boy and this older maternal Indian lady.
Hey, and if so she's maternal, I am all for maternal, man.
But see, you're not the mother of a 25-year-old kid. See, that's different.
I guess, yeah, there's that.
It's that mama bear thing.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but we put her firmly in MILF territory, right?
Yes, definitely. I totally see that. I get it. Yeah. And so, you know, their wedding came up, and then I'm also thinking about my son who's getting married, and they're planning their wedding, and it's kind of taken us back to all of the issues and things that my husband and I went through. So I thought that was a great starting point for you and me.
So like from a wedding and marriage perspective, so I think that I do have a kind of an interesting, now more typical than people thought, but background. My wife and I are both divorced. We both were previously married to other people. We both had arranged marriages. Mine lasted about a year. Hers, I believe, like several years, 3 or 4 maybe.
Okay.
So she suffered through hers a little longer than I did.
Yeah, poor thing. Now, you're both Indian, but you are Punjabi.
That's right.
And she is a different flavor?
She is Ismaili Muslim.
For lack of a better word.
That's right. She's Ismaili Muslim, which is kind of like Gujarati. Or her family's from Hyderabad or from that area, but she also has family in Pune and kind of different parts of India. But Islam, the community are very tight knit. They're a sect of Shia Islam. I didn't know very much about them until I married into this family. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I think is really fascinating about India in general and the South Asian experience is that people tend to think it's super monolithic, right? It's Apu on The Simpsons, when in fact there are a dozen little countries that are sort of smashed together, and they don't have a ton in common language-wise, linguistically, culturally. I mean, even appearance, ethnically, like when you look at like their physiology and like people look different from different parts of India. And there's some stereotyping that happens because of that. There's racism and classism But so even, me with my Indian background and being pretty comfortable, at least with going to India and being Indian and North Indian Punjabi, like I knew very little about Ismailis, and it's been quite an eye-opening experience. And honestly, I feel like it's made me a better person in a lot of ways. I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
because
jumping ahead a lot though. Like I kind of want to I want to talk about like all the arranged marriage stuff and all the nuttiness that happened because I feel like it's a fun story. Unfortunately,
yeah,
with real human consequences, I don't want to make too much light of it because there's
right.
there's stuff to say, I guess, about all of it.
Sure. Well, why don't you kind of go back and talk about just the basics of Punjabi culture and why arranged marriage was even an expectation?
Okay, so I was actually dating someone very seriously, and then we actually got engaged. This is someone else.
And
So this is
an Indian girl?
2000, yeah, 2000 and 2001. I was dating an Indian girl, and I will keep her anonymous for now, although anyone who knows me probably does know her name. And we actually got,
was she Punjabi?
No, she was not.
No.
She also was from a slightly different background. She was from Maharashtra, so Maharashtrian. And her family really didn't like me or my family, and they didn't really let it out until we got engaged. And they actually hosted a big engagement party for us. And then that weekend, it was like everything fell apart. Like we went from like having a really amazing engagement and like being super happy to the very next day having a huge falling out with their family and then trying to pick up the pieces. And a lot of things happened afterwards that I'm not super proud of. Our standpoint in all this was that it kind of felt like we were ambushed. And then Punjabis are very, very, I guess we like to fight. We're pugilistic. We're pugilistic people, right?
I see.
So if somebody
kind of like a hot-blooded Latin person, if we want to stereotype.
My joke is that we're kind of like the Italians of India. Like we drink too much, we eat too much, and we have our own mob, and we like to fight.
Awesome. Do you break kneecaps too?
I'm not going to comment.
Maybe.
Not recently. These days, the only kneecaps I break are my own, it seems like.
Yeah, that's what happens when you turn 40 and beyond.
So all this, like we had this kind of like disintegrating relationship with my fiance. And so then we broke up and I was pretty devastated. I didn't really know what to do with myself. And after kind of trying to like be a middleman between our two families and failing at it and, trying to bring people to the table to reconcile and not really working out. And then finally our relationship ending. Like I was pretty exhausted at the end of all this.
Sure.
And I wasn't a child. I was about 30. I was either 29 or 30, I think. So I wasn't a little kid, but I also looking back, I sort of think about like how that age number has pushed back. But anyway, I don't want to get into that about how being 30 doesn't necessarily mean as much as it maybe did in my parents' generation.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's sort
definitely
of childish,
different.
a lot of childish behavior in there. So when we broke up, my parents were the ones, they were kind of like, look, I want to say it was pretty close to these exact words. They were like, we tried it your way. Now try it our way. Like try an arranged marriage because they're magic somehow and they'll automatically work out. Right. I don't really like that was the assumption is that arranged marriages just work. Right.
Right.
And my parents' criteria for what they were looking for, like they were pretty collaborative. I have to give them some credit in that they would sort of run girls by me. This sounds so sexist and misogynist, but seriously, looking back, I'm just like, I keep putting my head in my hands every time I think about this because it's kind of shameful. But they're like,
that's the way it was.
Yeah. My mom would send me links to on dating sites, or there's a wedding website called Shadi.com, which means, for anyone who doesn't understand Hindi, it means wedding, right? Wedding.com, right? But, she would send me links to these girls' profiles with their pictures and be like, what do you think of her? And then I'd be like, oh, she's cute, right? Or, oh my gosh, no, right? Like, please no. And so trying to get her to kind of come around to where I was. First of all, looking at a girl with your mom, it's just one of the most surreal experiences of any male can have. Like it never quite sits right. It's just so
right.
Awkward. So, it never anything less than awkward. it was always a little like, and then, there are times when it's like, okay, I think I've kind of communicated what I want. And then I would find out, no, she actually just had her own criteria and really wasn't paying any attention to mine anyway.
Yeah.
But then,
so how did these meetings, did you
we
actually
never
meet
met?
these girls?
No. This is the best part of all this, is that I never met anybody. We would have, I think I probably talked to 3 or 4 girls on the phone after my mom had already talked to their families. And then it was just so weird, right? Like, hi, how are you?
Right.
I
don't know
mom
you.
told me a bit about you, right? And so then she found a girl. I mean, she probably found, I want to say like about 4 or 5, but we actually got in touch and talked. So there were a few girls where I actually my memory is maybe not so great, but I feel like there were 1 or 2 girls where I was actually somewhat interested in them. And of course they wanted nothing to do with me. And then my mom found this girl who, her profile was cute. Like, she had a cute picture and she seemed nice enough, but she was in India. And I didn't like that. Like, I was just like, if I'm going to marry somebody who's Indian and we're going to go through this arranged marriage thing, I really don't want to be going to India for this. Mm-hmm. And my parents are pretty adamant, on the other hand, that, everyone is on the table. Like, basically, like, you can have, if no one from America is really going to respond, then you got to go to India. But also, this was super short. Like, this was not like after 2 years of trying. It was like, I want to say my fiance and I broke up in, I don't remember anymore, but it was 2001, probably like around fall. And then by 2002, the search was on. Like, yeah, there was no time for me to like regroup or recover from this breakup or, just get my head on straight. It was just like the equivalent of a rebound.
Yeah.
Except it was a rebound marriage. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Now, did you date before all of this?
Yes.
And were your parents okay with that? Okay.
Yes and no. They were not okay with it. So I was, in college, I was just a little hornball. I dated all over the place. I tried to get laid as often as I possibly could.
Like any 19, 20-year-old guy, of
and
course.
Then I had a series of relationships. I was... my early 20s self, I look back and I just kind of cringe because I was a diehard romantic. I mean, like, I was such a romantic. And what I thought I wanted was like a relationship more than anything. And so I was basically evaluating every person I came across as like, are you the one? Are you the one? Like, you went out on a date with me. Are you the one? Right? It's way too much pressure for like just getting to know people. And it really took me going through this divorce much, much later, like at the age of 30, to kind of burn that circuit out of me. The divorce itself was pretty terrible, right? So we were not even really together. I mean, we were technically married for, I guess, 2 years, but we were not together for any chunk of that time. And
so this is someone that you met through your mom's efforts.
That's right. And then she came here to the U.S., and we didn't even manage to get a place of our own. It was just it just went off the rails so quickly. Like, there was no common ground to build any kind of foundation between us, let alone we didn't even like each other, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, if you aren't even really attracted to the person you're in front of, and you don't even necessarily like them. Like, I could like her in a very abstract sense, in that, like, like, you see somebody, you meet somebody at like the mall or something, you're like, that seems like a nice person, right? Now imagine that some random person from the mall that you met just gets shoved into your life and is now like in your bathroom.
Yeah, I cannot imagine that.
It's just so weird.
But now, I mean, I was asking my husband about this very concept before we began this podcast because I wanted to understand his point of view. This is what your parents raised you to expect, though. And are you raised to expect that marriage, that love, romantic love, is necessarily a part of marriage?
They never really... Okay, so there's a couple of things that we have to untangle here. The first is that Indian parents suck at communicating with their kids. So they don't really talk about this shit at all. It's not like they're like, when you get married, right, you might fall in love, or no, they're just like, you're going to get married when I say, shut the fuck up. Right? Like,
yes.
And also the Indian culture itself is so confused about romance and love and marriage. Like, if you
look at Bollywood movies.
Exactly. If you look at the society overall, there's not a lot of romance. And so therefore, when you look at their entertainment, like all that repressed desire for some kind of human connection in their relationships is just poured into their filmmaking. Like, it's so soppy, right? Like, it's super, super goopy, romantic, gooey, over the top. And that is literally not what it is when you talk to any married people from the previous generation. I feel like things are kind of getting more sane now in the 2000s and 2010 onwards. Like, you're starting to see things kind of change. But like before this, things are messed up. Like, it was a really not a sane society when it came to this stuff. And it's still not there yet. It's getting better. I mean, this is my opinion. I'm diagnosing an entire society. That's my arrogance.
Right. That's what we Americans do, right?
I'm pretty arrogant about this, but I went through it. They put me through that sausage mill, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and you can talk about it because you went through it. And people don't like it so much when I talk about it because I'm on the periphery of the culture, but on the flip side, it has affected my entire life. It's changed my entire life because I've been on the periphery, and I feel like I can talk about it. So this is something
I feel like you and I have in common, right?
Too.
That sort of outsider perspective on a mainstream phenomena that is Indian culture, right? Which is now becoming pretty mainstream here, even in the US, right? But how you can stand outside it and get a better view on what actually is happening. It doesn't mean you necessarily get a voice, right? Like, you can just see it, but you're not allowed to talk.
Right. Yeah, there was a time when we were dating and first married. Of course, I was in college when we were first married. All we hung out with was this small community of Gujarati college students because that's all he really hung out with. And we would go to dinner with these kids all the time. And at one point, a girl who I was really good friends with called me after we had been out for drinks and said, I'm sorry, I hate to do this. I have to tell you this, but no one likes you and they don't want to be your friend or be around you anymore. And I was like, no one, what does that mean? And so she named off all of these young people our age that we go out with all the time. And they said, because you talk about Indian culture as if it's your own. You talk about Indian Standard Time and make jokes about things just like us, and you are not one of us. And you can't do that. And we're offended. And I was like, okay, so I'm not going to try to have any more friends in this crowd. But that was like the very first clue to me that, I can't talk about it. I am not allowed to, according to them. So for me, I buried it for years and years and years. And that's why I'm on this podcast now, because it's all coming out. The funny thing about that,
right? Like, this is how double standards kind of evolve, right? Because I know white people who are perfectly allowed to say things like that about Indian Standard Time, which, for anybody who doesn't know, is this tendency that Indians have, which is infuriating, to always be not just a little late, but a full hour or more late to everything. Like, everything.
Yes.
And if they tell you that something starts at 7, nobody's there at 7. Everything starts at 9. Like, just
yeah. If they tell you that a wedding starts at 10 in the morning, expect the festivities to get going around 3.
So I guess what the problem with commentary on it, right? We'll just hone in on this one thing, right? Like IST, because I feel like this is a pretty fun and lighthearted kind of way to do it. My understanding of the rules on commentary has also kind of changed over the years too. Like, I feel like I used to be one of those people who would police the rules. And now what I feel like is that if you just explain the rules, they kind of make a lot more sense. And again, I have no idea if this is really true or universal or not. And I would love to hear from someone else about whether they actually believe in my rules. But the rules as I see them are, you have to suffer through it first, then you have to notice it, and then you can't comment on it in the way that everyone else does. It has to be like you ease into it and be like, why is this thing happening? Even though you may already know.
Right.
right? And then only after it has been explained to you are you allowed to partake in that thing.
Yes, I agree with that. And I had experienced and suffered
Of
through
course,
Indian
right?
Standard Time
Anyone
many
anyone who's
times.
been in
was
any kind
there.
of relationship with Indians has suffered through Indian Standard Time. But it's like, like you just were like, I've been through this. Oh my God, what's wrong with you people? Then they're like, you can't talk about that. Right?
Yeah. And I think a huge part of it was, for me, it was the girls, because it was mostly girls. And girls can be mean. No matter what culture they are, girls can be mean girls. And I think that was
true.
A little bit of it. Yeah. So back to you. Where were we with you and your process?
So after I go through this arranged marriage and then divorce, it was only after that I kind of realized how to date, I learned how to date very, very late in life. And then I found out I was actually pretty good at it. I liked dating. And so I dated for a very long time. I think 5 or 6 years after that, I just was like, I'm dating. And my parents were even more infuriated because they were further and further away from their grandkids and time is running out. You're getting older. And I was like, I don't care. Right. Not getting pushed into
You're
anything.
Having too much fun.
Also, I'm just not going to get, I was adamant that I was not going to get pushed into another relationship. Never, ever, ever again. And so when I met Malika, it was, much more like traditional dating. We met, got to know each other, actually broke up because I didn't take her seriously. It was a very superficial kind of relationship at first. She used to booty call me drunk. I'm gonna pay for this one, but you can interview her later. But it's true. I just did not take her seriously. And when we finally we got together after she was kind of I've been thinking about you and I really feel like we should try again. And I was like, okay, I'm willing to give it a go because she made a pretty powerful case. And I was also, if I'm honest, I was also thinking about her too. And so we started dating, for real. Oh my God, there was so much friction though. There was so much stuff we had to work out. I don't really understand guys who want weak women. That, by the way, is just so weird to me. Dude, what a turnoff. Who wants a slave or a servant or someone who doesn't have thoughts of their own?
Right.
Why would you want that? Right. So yeah, when I met her, I mean, these are the things that attracted me to her. She's beautiful, but she's also tough and smart. And also my views on her evolved so much after we got married and after we started a business together. My goodness. Okay. But I'm jumping around again. So,
so how did you fall in love and decide to get married, and what was your wedding like?
We fell in love because, after she kind of proposed us getting back together and then trying again, we started really actually dating, really trying to see each other regularly. And then she was flying all over the world. So it was kind of this weird, long distance relationship across time zones is so weird. Okay, so Skype was brand new, and internet service was still pretty crappy. So we would try and do video chats and it would be laggy and horrible. And then oh my God, you got good Wi-Fi over here. Well, let's get on and talk. And okay, no, let's just switch over to voice only, constantly trying to talk to each other just all the time. And so then I decided okay, if we're going to actually give this relationship a chance, then we need to kind of settle down. We need to pick a place and be together. Right. And so I was like, I'll go first. And so I'd been working I found a job in DC where I wasn't commuting anymore. I knew it was a crap job. It was not a good job, but it paid well. And it gave me I could go to my apartment at the end of my work. Right. I could go home. And she had a harder time of letting go with this, but also because her independence and work was just harder won. Her family, when she got her divorce, she struck out on her own, and a lot of her family they condemned her. I mean, she was not popular in her family for getting a divorce.
Yeah, that is definitely a topic that I want to go back and touch on.
Yeah, and I really feel like if you talk to her, you'll get a really great conversation about that too, because she is super brave. She's a trailblazer, in her own family and in her her community. And there are not many Ismailis who get divorces. I mean, Indians in general just don't very often. And then as a subset of Indians, like Ismailis just do not. Mm-hmm. They will suffer through the worst effing marriages just because you're not supposed to get a divorce.
And also, I don't know if they are the same as Gujarati people, and I'm not making a generalization. I'm just making the statement based on experiences that I've had with people who have been through divorce. Yeah. So I don't want anybody to come and stalk me and, kill me. But from my observations, women are blamed regardless of the reason that the divorce occurred. If the husband was cheating, it's her fault for not pleasing him in the bedroom. And I'm not being mean. I have heard that statement before. So
no, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely dead on. And there was now this is not even that melodramatic. Neither of our divorces were for anything quite so dramatic. Like, it wasn't that I was not cheating on my wife and she wasn't cheating on me, and Malika was not cheating on her husband and he wasn't cheating on her. It really just was irreconcilable. Like, you can't really get along with this person. And so, of course, that is the worst for any Indian, because that's not nearly cut and dried enough. That means you could possibly work it out.
Yes.
And
yay.
And so given the choice, like, well, I mean, if you're not getting along, why don't you just get along, right? Like,
right. I mean, who needs to have romance or, anything like that? But you know what? The same could be said about just any old, American or any other run-of-the-mill love marriage. You get to a point where it's like, do we really have to get along? Nah, just go in the other room. It doesn't matter. It ebbs and flows.
I mean, my views on romance have just changed a lot too. I feel an entirely different kind of romance with Malika than I've ever felt with anyone else. It's not the sappy, like, rose petals on the bed. Yeah. You're like, dude, we ain't got time for that shit, right? Like, it's like, for years it was spit up on my shirt and the house smells like poo. Yes. And you just have to find your own ways of being romantic then, right? It's all the little things. It's just trying to be considerate of the other person and just maybe give them a break. Yes. And that can be romantic if it's done properly. And then also trying to find some time where you can, like, be together and not have any real expectations of romance precisely. But you know what I mean? Like, let's go get dinner, right? Let's go get dinner together. Mm-hmm. And now, we've been married almost 10 years. I feel like our relationship is just so much stronger than when we first started out.
That's just...
Of course, every time I say words like this out loud, though, it's like a jinx. And like we're going to go home and I'm going to have a huge argument.
No. Don't think of it that way. It's an affirmation to the universe that's just going to strengthen the vibes. Just think of it that way.
Thanks, Cheryl. That's exactly what it is. Yes. Affirmation universe here.
Well, so you found the love of your life. Yes. And that's amazing. And your parents didn't have anything to do with it. So that's even more amazing.
Yep.
So I was talking to my husband about this earlier, and we were arguing about arranged marriage and the value of it. And, he grew up, of course, under the impression that arranged marriages always work because, it's not based on this fleeting romance. It's based on, family contract and working together and that sort of thing. And I was just this starry-eyed little, girl from the 80s listening to love songs all the time. I thought, well, it's all about romance. That's all that matters is the romance and whether you're in love every day of the week. And of course, now I know that that's not. So we were kind of having an argument. Okay, which is better, or is one better? Because arranged marriages get divorced, love marriages, people get divorced all the time. So
I think the first problem, or what I would, if I were to argue, get into the argument, which, it's your argument, but I don't want to. But I'm going to give you ammo.
Okay. Yeah. You have to be on my side.
I'm on your side.
Everyone has to be on my side. You're on my show. It's not his show.
That's right. You have a podcast. I'm giving you the ammo. Okay. Here you go.
Thank you.
So the first thing is I disagree with the idea that the measure of success for marriages is the divorce rate. Like, I really, really disagree with that as a metric. I don't think that divorce rate is actually an accurate way to measure marriage. Like, it's not. It's a good way to measure failure, but only partially.
Sure.
It doesn't capture everything, right? So
Right.
there are so many kinds of marriages out there that are absolutely unhappy, and yet they're still two people married together, right?
Right.
And then they can be together for any number of reasons, right? I mean, I also hate this thinking that like you have to stay together for children.
Right.
My family, my parents stayed together for children. Like my parents argued and fought like you would not believe. They still do. My mom and dad they are terrible. And I believe my sister and I remember being like 11 and her being 7 and saying things like, I wish they would get a divorce, which if you can imagine being 11 years old or 7 years old and honestly, sincerely wishing your parents would get a divorce because it would be better than what they were putting us through the rest of the time, right? Like
that's intense.
So I just, and they haven't gotten a divorce. Like I still think that they should have gotten a divorce like years and years ago, and they probably still could. And I don't, again, like it's a whole other topic, but I just like the whole like way of measuring success in like I would totally disagree with the whole divorce rate thing. I would go on to say that like the way you actually measure a marriage, a successful marriage, is to ask the people who are actually married to each other whether they enjoy or believe that their marriage is a good marriage.
Right. And what is their definition of a good marriage? And I think some of that is culturally defined as well.
Even as long as both of them say yes, it's a good marriage. Like if they both say, they're free to say, yes, I think I have a good marriage. And the other person says independently, yes, I think I have a good marriage. You've got a good marriage then, right? If one person disagrees, it's not a good marriage.
That's true. And that's the problem that we ran into because, and I always attributed it to culture, and I probably wrongfully attributed every one of his flaws to culture because I'm a woman and I'm going to attribute it to him. But he always said, we need to stay married because marriage is good and we don't have to always be perfect. We don't have to be in love. And I would be happy to be married, even if things are not good, because marriage is the goal. And I was like, honey, I was not raised that way. If I'm unhappy, I'm going to divorce you. And I did. I did stay together with him for a long time for the kids because I thought that it was the right thing. But of course, we know that that's not. So I blamed it on the culture, and I think part of it was that we had different definitions.
I think that's fair, though, but I think that blaming it on the culture in some ways is fair because people are a product of their culture. So, when you, and it's, I mean, man, I know Dharmesh is going to hear this, so man, dude, don't kill me, all right? But like Gujaratis are extremely, the word I would use is clannish. They're very, right? Yes. Like, I mean, I think even they would agree with that assessment. They're very, very clannish.
And they're very proud of that.
They are. So it's not a bad thing, but that pressure to stay together at all costs also allows a lot of stuff to slide, right? Like if the end result is to stay married no matter what, then no one has to deal with their personal issues. Right.
Right.
You don't have to address anything. You can just be like, no, dude, we're staying together no matter what. So fuck it.
Your personal issues are incidental to the situation.
Right. When in fact, it's really kind of the opposite that you've got to build your marriage on a foundation of trust, right? Like you have to actually like trust each other first and foremost. You have to actually like each other. And it can't be that one person. I mean, I also don't believe that there's such a thing as a perfectly equitable relationship. Like it's not like, one person does one thing and therefore another person does another thing. It's like some days one person is going to be doing a lot of work and some days the other person is not going to be doing a lot of work. And then it's going to flip and it's going to be like that for maybe 3 months. And then maybe it's going to be the other way for like 6. And it's never going to be entirely fair. And you shouldn't ask it to, right? Like, because it's just a human relationship.
Right. That's true. And things change throughout your lifetime, phases of your life, everything changes and you become a different person and you either grow with it or you don't.
Yeah.
And so back to you and your marriage, and you guys now have twins. And so you and Malika are from, pretty different traditions, somewhat different traditions. So how are you, as the father of 2 girls who is no longer a misogynist, how are you going to handle this whole thing, raising them? What kind of values and how are you going to teach them to be strong?
We wing it. Well, first of all, I mean, okay, so I'm surrounded by women, like literally, like my whole house. It's me and then women in my house. I have 2 girl dogs, 2 daughters,
boy.
wife, and a nanny. Like I'm just there's no
Poor thing.
and in some ways, it's an even match. Like I was very arrogant again, but no, truthfully, I like women. That's first and foremost, and then as far as like the how do you teach them to be strong? I think that's actually, it's kind of backwards. It's like, you don't have to teach them to be strong. You just have to not beat up on them. And they wind up perfectly strong on their own. Like I have a daughter both my daughters are super tough. Like they don't take shit already and they're 3. But one of them is like very much more like, easygoing and calm in a lot of ways and social. And even her, like if you try and like, like, hey, let's go do this thing. And she doesn't want to do it. She's like, no. And your job is to then respect that. Like if she's saying no, I don't go, well, yes, you are. No.
Right. Or be a good little girl and listen to daddy.
Exactly. We don't do that bullshit. That is not allowed in our house. So I don't do it. Malika doesn't do it. We don't infantilize them, even though they're infants. We don't say like, don't talk down to them. We try to put things at their level in ways that they can understand. If they can't understand it, then we go ahead and we act on their behalf. But I'm not going to like spin things for them, gaslight them, try and convince them to believe things that they wouldn't themselves come around to believing on their own. Like, no, like I want them to be who they are. And so, like the way when you're like, how do you make them tough? Like, I think they are tough. They're going to be tough. I think my whole job is to just make sure no one else beats up on them. Right. Like if if other people tear them down, then they're not going to be tough. And
girls look for husbands or partners that are like their fathers, and hopefully it's the positive thing that they're going to look for. And you're raising them you're allowing them for their strength to come out, and they're going to look for a man that they feel free to do that with too. Hopefully they're not going to be attracted to somebody that pushes their thumb down on them and grinds them down. I think they would have no reason to.
Exactly. I think that like their first encounter, like you hear a lot about like men who are like, they like, have you seen the idiots who like pose on like social media and they're like with a gun and they're prom, they're like, it's like, they better not touch my daughter. Right. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like your job was before this and you clearly have failed at it. Right. Like if you feel the need to carry a gun to protect your daughter when she's about to graduate high school, you've done it all fucking wrong, right? Like, the way I see it is like, I don't have to protect them from a lot of this. I want them to be able to protect themselves. My job is to teach them how to protect themselves, what to look out for, how guys can be, and they're going to figure it out on their own. If they bounce off a couple of shitty guys in the process, as long as they're not getting hurt by it, I'm okay with it. Like I'm going to have to. I know that it's easy to say that when they're 3, but like,
yeah, I have to tell you from experience, it does get a little bit more difficult when they're like 15 and beautiful and wearing short shorts. And it's hard.
I've already been thinking about it. I mean, that's my prep work to be a good dad has been to like, come to grips with them becoming sexual beings as quickly as possible, because I don't want to be like ambushed by this shit when it happens. Right. I'm not like, I like being a little bit ahead of that curve.
Yeah. Cause that's only going to alienate them and they're going to go undercover and sneak around.
Up until now, I've approached fatherhood. My view on fatherhood is that I want them to trust me. I want to trust them. And I'm trying to build that foundation. Like that's, how I feel like with my relationship with Malika. And she feels the same way too, that like, if we talk to them in ways where they know that they can trust us, where they know that we're not going to overreact or blow our top. Like my parents, I couldn't trust them. I couldn't talk to them because I would hide everything from them because I couldn't trust their reactions. If it was something about my life that was making me miserable, it only ever boiled down to grades. So if I was making bad grades, I was bad. And if I was making good grades, I was good, and nothing else mattered. Right. And
so that's a whole can of worms.
Talk about a small lens to view your life through, like to view your child through. So I was miserable a lot of the time, and then I didn't trust them with anything. So there were probably a lot of moments where they might have been able to steer me if I could have talked to them. And I feel sad looking back, like they kind of built this relationship because it was very punitive and very, very like hard and heavy handed. And I'm trying to, I feel like it's so easy to enjoy your children, which, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's just all flowers and butterflies. I mean, like
any parent of twins knows that is not the case.
Yeah, it's a shit ton of work. But it is possible to enjoy their company, to like just sit on the couch and like watch a silly YouTube video together. It doesn't have to all be on my terms, right? Like if they're watching something that's like on their level, I can enjoy it too. I can come down to where they are and just be silly with them. And my parents never did that. Like that was a thing that was just like it was beneath their dignity to enjoy the things I enjoyed, whatever it was.
Oh, right? Wow. I wonder if that was just the era, regardless of culture, because my parents didn't. I mean, of course, I knew they loved me and all of that, but they didn't get on my level with play or anything like that. It was, I'm on my own. I go play with my friends. I do my thing and they do their parent thing. There wasn't that sort of interaction, I think, that most of us have with our kids now. And, they were as white and redneck from Kentucky as you can get. So I think it may just be I shouldn't say that they weren't redneck. They just had a Southern accent. But, it was just different. I think the expectations from parenting back then were different too. And with you, it's just a whole different level of different expectations. But the beauty of like what you were saying of being able to relate to your kids on that level is when they grow up, you end up with these individuals that you enjoy being around as adults. And it's so much more enjoyable when your kids are adults and you can talk to them on an adult level. It's amazing. So you doing that now is really setting the stage for that.
Thanks.
So,
I am awesome. I'm so looking forward to that. I mean, that is one of the things that when that day where, I mean, it's not like it's just going to arrive all at once, but I'm just looking forward to them being like 5 and we can have like more communications than we have now. Like, I feel like this is another thing that I really, really enjoy about them. Some people, like my in-laws, my mother-in-law, like she's like, you're going to really miss them when they're like 2 and 3. And I'm like, I think they're sweet, but I think it's kind of getting better, the better that they can communicate. Like life gets easier for us when they can communicate better. And when I can communicate with them, it's better too, right? Like it's so much more enjoyable, right? Like you can hear exactly what they want, right? Like, or you can talk about the things that they've discovered or what they want to do, right? Like,
right.
If I wanted clones or if I only wanted to do the things I wanted to do, why would I even have kids? What's the point, right? Like,
yeah. And you get to learn things from them as they grow too, which is awesome. It's not just about us teaching them or raising them. It's about them, what they give to us too.
Exactly.
Like my 11-year-old just introduced me to Post Malone. So I listen to Post Malone in the car all the time. I would have never heard that, but hey, it's pretty cool. So, there's definitely a give and take, but it's hard earned with those kids because I can tell you right now, my kids made me earn that friendship that I have with them now as adults. My daughter didn't speak to me from the time she was about 11 till 20.
Wow.
It was a long time. Now, she did speak to me sometimes when she needed money and stuff like that. But now she's 23 and living on her own in the big city, and she's the most wonderful person I could ever ask for in my life. Where does she live? But yeah, she just moved to New York City. She lives in Manhattan. Cool. Yeah, on her own. And she is there about 5 minutes from her brother who goes to college there. So I'm glad that they're, and they were very close growing up too. So that's one of the benefits of having a big family young is that they are all close. They fought like cats and dogs.
But now they had each other. That's awesome. That makes me feel really good because my biggest fear probably is that, the twins don't get along with each other when they're older, or that our family just sort of splinters somehow. And oh my God, that would be my worst nightmare. But, I also know that this is a process and that nothing happens at once, and it can go in one direction and another direction later.
Oh, yes. Life is all over the place, and kids it's like a big splatter on the wall with kids. You just have to clean it up as you go. But I mean, it sounds like you guys have given them the best foundation that you could just because of how you and Malika started together, and you didn't have to. Sounds like you don't have to wade through all of the negativity that you might have had in your life if you had gone on a different path. So I congratulate you on that. I'm giving you my stamp of approval.
I congratulate you on raising a family, man. As in anyone who has twins and other kids, my hat is off to you, man. Good job, Cheryl.
Ooh. Well, that's a whole nother series of podcasts talking about that. I was pretty crazy there for a while, but yeah, I came out of it. It's all good. This was an awesome analysis, I think, of relationships and culture and things like that, because there's so many different things to think about. It's not just where you're from or what you look like or who you marry or why you marry. It's life. And I think it's good to talk about it and get people's understanding out there on the surface.
I agree. Yeah,
Don't
definitely.
You? Yeah.
I'm one of the things I love most about this age we live in now, right, is that things like podcasts make conversations like this possible, right? Make it so that you can have a conversation and hopefully even a bit of an audience, and then it just becomes stigma gets removed. People aren't so self-conscious about this stuff. It just becomes a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, I agree, because so many of the things that I talk about on the podcast, I held in my belly for 20 years because I didn't have an opportunity, an avenue for a voice, because I felt like it was going to rock the boat. It was going to hurt my family. It would cause issues with his family, whatever. And now I'm older and I really don't care anymore, but I also have this avenue that I can put it out there. And I have to say, when I started my blog, Southern Life, Indian Wife, years ago, I was getting emails and text messages from people who thanked me for having my voice out there because it was really their voice and they weren't in a position that they could express it.
I understand that.
And it made them feel like, okay, someone out there understands me.
Kudos to you, man.
People can, oh, well, thank you. And people can say what they want about the internet, good and bad, but that is definitely one of the benefits that we are giving our society with this online stuff. But on the flip side, I have to see Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra all the time on my Instagram feed. And I hope they're not listening. See, I love them. They're wonderful. If they're listening, let me interview you on my podcast. There's just so much to unpack with them. He's like my child. I want to sit down and just counsel him on
Nick, I'll take Priyanka. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. Sounds
take
good.
One for the
team. Right. Well, thank you so much for being here to chat with me. This was an amazing conversation.
Thank you, Cheryl. This was a ton of fun. It was good catching up with you, and it was good talking, too.
If you like this podcast so far, please continue following along by tapping the subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts. If you really liked it, go on, be awesome, and leave a rating and a review. Find me on all social media too by searching Cheryl with an S, Parbhoo. That's Parbhoo. Thanks for listening to Southern Life, Indian Wife.
Now with the 7-Eleven app, use that $1 in your pocket on any size hot beverage, including coffee and lattes. With dairy and non-dairy creamers, coffee your way for just $1 with your 7-Eleven app. Plus tax where applicable, only at participating 7-Eleven locations.